So this is James, aka JP Harker, filming a slightly shorter, brief video today because my camera's developed a bit of a fault and doesn't like recording after a certain amount of time. I'm in my festive gear because it's December. Eventually the Starks are always proved right and winter is coming. So I'm just going to do a quick video today just on the non-fiction that I've been reading of late. Now non-fiction is a pretty broad term for this, which is the history of King Richard III by Thomas More. Not Saint Thomas More. I'm not having that because he's a lying git. It's almost entirely a work of fiction, and it's like, well, it is reading the book that Shakespeare based his play on. To put it into a bit of context, Thomas More is writing in the time of Henry VIII, who is the son of Henry VII, who is the man who took the crown from Richard III. So I know it's popular among we Ricardians to cry Tudor propaganda, but that is pretty much what this is. We have the nonsense about him being a hunchback, we have the complete lack of evidence of him murdering his nephews, and I don't really like the word history for it because it has things like, oh, and of course, he was a wicked, wicked, evil man, which you shouldn't really write in histories. But it's important to know what the opposition are doing and to be able to cite it, and there are a few interesting remarks, so glad to have read it. The other non-fiction that I'm midway through is a much better non-fiction, and it is The Greatest Knight, The Remarkable Life of William Marshall, The Power Behind 5 English Thrones. Realistically 4, but there we go. It's by Thomas Asbridge, and there is the cover. It is, so far, brilliant. It's about William Marshall, who is arguably the first real knight in the way that we would now understand it. The idea of not just being a man on a horse in armour, but the beginnings of the ideas of chivalry and a set method of conduct that happened in Northern Europe. And it's interesting because he lived a very long life. He lived through, well, says 5 English kings, realistically 4. But the way that the world and chivalry and warfare and politics evolved through his life is very, very interesting. And so far he's still quite a young man. He's in his 30s, which, yes, means young. I am young. And we're seeing a bit of him and Henry the Young King, which I find fascinating because Henry the Young King, in most of the books I've read, he's always been depicted as quite two-dimensional, quite a sort of handsome and dashing but very selfish and greedy young man. And I like that we're getting a little bit more of a dimension of him in this. I like that it's mostly about William Marshall, but I also love the Plantagenets, so it's interesting reading about them from this perspective. So like I say, I haven't finished it yet, but I will strongly recommend it based on what I've read so far. So it's The Greatest Knight, story of William Marshall by Thomas Asbridge. I will recommend. Now, since my camera likes to break if I do long videos, I'm going to wrap it up there. So, I shall be back with another video ere long. This is James, aka JP Harker. Oil vow.